Hey everybody, a little bit late today. Let me get things going on here. I gotta post the link in Classroom and stuff, so I'm sorry not to look at your face. You can see I have my jacket on, been doing things. Welcome to amazing times in COVID, right? Here we go. I'm on the Classroom page. Monday. Everyone thinks I'm not here. They're freaking out. I'm here. Here we go. I gotta get the link up. Calm people down here. There we go. Hi guys. Yeah, I'm a little late today. Just saw a bunch of you on the chat document thinking I wasn't here. I'm here. Takes a few minutes to get it going. Stay to chat. I'm not so sure. Okay. Um Great. Okay. Got that going on. You're so funny. Amina, Sophia, Logan. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Yes, I'm sorry I'm late today. Um I am going to try to show you something amazing that I did find today before we start quickly. Um, Let me see if I can get it. So just taking me a second here. Ugh. Computer technology, not making our life easier. Okay, while everybody shows up for a second, I'm trying to bring up an amazing image. Today's Valley Forge image, if I can bring it up. Give me a second here. Here we go. Come on, history. No. Okay, I'll try another avenue. Yeah, this one's worth it. Let me try to bring this up. Okay, one more avenue. Try to bring it up. You ever notice that when you're trying to really do something on a computer, it just doesn't go easy and fast? But other times when you're not trying so hard, it's like boom, boom, boom. Like totally no problem. So today's reading definitely is going to start moving fast. So hold on to your hats and really visualize. Let the movie roll because it is going to be kind of amazing for sure. For sure. Okay. Here we go. I got it now. There we go. There we go. Amazing photo. Okay, it's coming up. Loading, 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 forever. I'm loading, 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 forever. I'm loading. I could be like a new song. Kind of obnoxious. Yes, I know. Well, the streaming software takes a lot of bandwidth. And I don't know if you notice, like Google Docs takes forever to load sometimes. All right, it's 10:35. We need to get reading. Okay, I've been clicking on my things. Let me see if I can show it to you. Window capture. Hold on. Nice. There we go, I think. Look at that picture of Valley Forge. Isn't that something? That's on today's 4th grade math, actually. It's called Valley Forge multiplication. So teacher of me, all right? Like, what up? Can you see that good okay? I'll go back to it. So the tents are for muskets. They're not for people. If you look carefully, you'll see that they have the cabins all built and that the tents are too skinny. The tents are not for people. The tents are for muskets and supplies. So with that, we can leave that up a little bit. And let's get down. Here we go. I made myself grow. We can coexist, me and the image. The image right there, we can coexist. That's computer generated. Okay. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for hanging in there with the iReady Mastery Check. Appreciate it so much. iReady Mastery Check's not going on your grade. You know that. It's a district thing. Okay. Chapter 59. Page 229. I embarked on a campaign of kindness and honey to Isabel, which, if you've never tried it, is very hard to do with someone who thinks you're chicken-hearted and in the past has called you epoxy sluggard. Oh, I love that. All right, we got to take a second for that. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Colonial insults. Epoxy sluggard. Oh my God. Oops, I can't draw D's to save my life sometimes. Poxy sluggard. Colonial insults. So to call someone poxy was like to say that they're diseased. It's kind of an insult. A sluggard is someone slow, like a slug or a snail. It's really full of stuff. So anyway, it is very hard to be kind with someone who thinks you're chicken-hearted and in the past has called you a poxy sluggard. It is especially hard if every day you are plagued with fear about what might happen next. I had no chance to further talk with Ebenezer. A white soldier named Timothy Hubbard, who hailed from General Greene's hometown, became both wagon driver and errand runner for the inhabitants of Moore Hall. Remember, Moore Hall is not like hauling more. It's a name, M-O-O-R-E, and Hall is the house. Timothy also led the horses when the gentlemen inspected troops or visited headquarters. I was every bit as caged as the kitchen parrot. The business of the army moved faster at a pace than ever. New recruits arrived daily and needed huts, food, weapons. A load of muskets smuggled from France arrived. Ooh, that's some information you don't hear in the textbooks. Yeah, the French had decided to help, and a load of muskets came from France, and they were smuggled in. But there were not enough wagons to transport them safely from the port to camp, which made General Greene almost have an attack of apoplexy. Late at night, after the junior clerks had been sent back to their huts, and the gentlemen lit their pipes and rested their feet upon the table, talk always turned about the upcoming campaign and the different battle plans Washington had to choose from. When the gentlemen finally retired to their bedchambers, I opened the windows to let out the smoke and the sweat of a long day and considered the possibilities for my own spring campaign, if you know what I mean. I had to come up with a proper plan, one that would suit Isabel. The fastest way to town, big enough to hide in, was to cross Sullivan's Bridge in the middle of camp and head east, but the bridge was guarded, as was the road that led south. The road north from Moore Hall offered no place to hide and just led deeper into the countryside, where strangers would be quickly noticed. I knew nothing of the land west beyond Mount Misery, and I dare not venture in that direction. As the month drew on and the days warmed, my humors fell out of balance, and I became tetchy and sour-minded. My efforts appeared the perfect servant to Bellingham, and to be patient and kind with Isabel, whose own humors were severely out of balance. It all seemed just fruitless. Isabel laughed at a few of my jokes, but she was just as likely to tell me that I wasn't funny at all, and then that I had a spot on my forehead. Bellingham snarled whenever I entered a room. I polished the boots wrong. I was clumsy. His tea was cold. I moved too fast. I moved too slow. My hair needed to be trimmed. My whiskers needed shaving. Once He lost his temper when Isabel and I were clearing the table, and I dropped a plate that shattered on the floor. He snatched Isabel's wrists and gave it a hard turn, causing her to cry out. Ugh, physical abuse, man. The other gentleman froze. Mr. Morris, with his wine glass halfway to his lips, he was like, "Do you remember our conversation about these things?" Bellingham shouted. "Humble apologies." I bowed deeply. "It shall not happen again." He released Isabel. "It had better not. Repair your manners and do your job. And for God's sake, Curzon, shave your face." So again, here we are with something that's not in the textbooks. Abusing an enslaved human being in front of these other people who are fighting for independence and freedom. Boom. Yeah. I mean, the people who started America were geniuses about how they went about it, but they lived this very awful, hypocritical contradiction. Freedom for all did not mean all. The rapid beard growth and the bumps on my forehead were more evidence of my own imbalance. The bumps multiplied no matter how much vinegar I rubbed on them. I tried to shave myself with a razor Mrs. Cook found for me, but it is near impossible to shave your own face, even for men who's been doing it for a score years like me. I must have cut myself 40 times, and I had to resort to slicing up a rag and sticking the bits of cloth over my face, for the cuts would not stop bleeding. When I stepped in the kitchen and asked Mrs. Cook if she had a salve to take away the stinging, Isabel laughed so hard that the milk she had been drinking came out her nose. That night I ate my supper alone on the back porch. The wind brought the sound of drums beating at camp, and it made me melancholy and angry all in one. Keep rolling. Chapter 50. Roman numerals. Whoops, here we go. Sorry. 50 is an L. Roman numerals L. 50. Bellingham and General Greene and the congressman rode off to headquarters that morning, led by Timothy Hubbard. I was left behind to clean the barn. Shoveling horse manure smelled worse than the waiting on gentlemen, quite frankly. And to be sure, it was worth being free, though, of Bellingham's gaze and the endless recounting of numbers of tent poles, shot pouches, water buckets that the army required. I hung my coat from a peg, I rolled up my sleeves, and I surveyed the barn. Benny Edwards told us the story about a fellow named Hercules, who moved an entire river to clean out a stable that had 100 years of muck. I did not know how to move a river, so I set the task with a wheelbarrow. I shoveled horse manure, pushed the barrow to the dung heap, and returned over and over and over again. My progress was observed by a pair of birds, busy building a nest from bits of straw and long strands of horsehair. I tried to imitate their whistle, but I failed. Instead, I sang quietly, for my voice was known to make dogs howl. By midday, I felt more like myself than I had in months. Mrs. Cook teased me about the smell when I went in for dinner, but she gave me 3 helpings of dumplings and gravy. He's eating, By dusk, I was too tired to give any thought to Isabel or our plight. My hands were so sore I could barely move my fingers. My back stiffed, I walked like an old man. I returned the wheelbarrow to the shed. But the job was done. Each stall was laid with fresh straw, and the hall, away from the windows and the curious cooks. It was Gideon. Gideon was back. I walked faster. The pains in my arms and back I forgot. He was standing way too close to her. "What are you doing?" I asked as I approached them. Isabel stepped away from Gideon. I was just... The import of the scene hit me. Gideon was dressed like a country boy, not a congressman's manservant. The horse's saddle was poorly made. The harness was old rope, not leather. Canvas saddlebags hung heavily behind the saddle. He is running. "Begone," I said. Gideon shifted nervously from foot to foot. "I've come to speak with Isabel, not you." Isabel had gathered the edge of her apron in her hand and was worrying it with her thumb. Her eyes darted this way and that way, her entire form tense as a cat ready to pounce. "Go inside, Isabel," I said. "Would you enslave her too? Stay if you wish, Isabel." "Leave her alone, you lying frog," I said to Gideon. "She has made her decision," he said to me. "What decision?" Isabel whispered. I'm leaving tonight." The barn swallows swooped past, not paying any mind to the three of us. "Tonight? Why tonight?" "A fortuitous circumstances arose," Gideon said. "My master sent me here from York with letters to the general staff and a note to Congressman Morris stating that I had been recovered, and I was again to serve at Moore Hall. I burned them. I've been preparing for months, waiting for the right moment. It is here." "Come with us," said Isabel. "He can't," said Gideon. "He'll ruin everything." Isabel frowned. "Don't trust him, Isabel," I said. "She can trust me, and she should trust me," Gideon said. "I have friends who will keep us safe. I know a blacksmith who will remove that collar." I was sorely tempted to punch him on the nose, but if I did, Isabel would be gone forever. I needed to attack his flank. "She says you've agreed to find Ruth. Are you going to head for Charleston along the coast or go over the mountains?" He hesitated. "Neither. We can't head there right away." "Because you have no intention of going to Charleston and finding Ruth ever, do you?" "Think, Isabel. He's not going to take you to Charleston any more than I would, only he's lying about it, and I told the truth. Do you think the folks in Carolina are going to let you just walk in, grab Ruth, if she's still alive, if she's there, and just allow you to steal them?" Isabel lifted her chin. "Gideon knows people who will help us." "Balderdash! He knows how to twist your mind, Isabel." "You're just a jealous boy," said Gideon. "Not jealous. I'm afraid. You will be the death of her." She put her hand on my elbow. The cool touch of her fingers rooted me to the ground, and I was certain that I would never be able to leave that spot of ground, the east side of Moore Hall. Even if my feet moved, my heart would be forever chained to that place, that moment, because I looked in her eyes, and I knew that she was leaving with him. She dropped her hand. "Enough talk," said Gideon. He had a big black felt farmer's hat that made it hard to see his face. "The moon will set at midnight. Leave when it sights just above the treetops." Okay. I forgot where I said I was going to read to today. Two more pages. Isabel avoided me the rest of the evening. This is chapter 51, page 238. Isabel avoided me the rest of the evening. She didn't have to. I could not think of any words or deed that would change her mind. The hours disappeared like a puff of smoke in a hurricane. Mrs. Cook thought for certain I had been taken ill from all the dung in the barn. She made me drink a portion of horseradish root and mustard seeds, cooked in gin. I did not taste it. She told me to wash in icy water straight from the well. I did not even feel it. He's in love with her, and he's like going numb. He's broken-hearted. I served the supper for the gentlemen. I cleaned the dining room. I laid the fire to be lit in the morning. I blew out the candles. I checked the window latches. A mug of horseradish potion was waiting for me, set on the kitchen table. I poured it on the ground outside. I moved my pallet in the shed so I could see out the small window that faced west, then sat down cross-legged and waited. The moon, which had crossed the middle of the sky above me, spoke with Gideon, fell in the west like a fast-moving comet. Clouds hurried across the path, scattering rain on the roof and then dashing away. The moon sat half a hand above the treetops, and then just a finger's width above the treetops. The moon waiting for Isabel. Horses slept in the barn. People slept in the house. The road was empty. The wind blew earlier. It died. Owls called the night. A ratcheting sound. The hook being pulled from a latch of the kitchen door. Hinges squeaked. The sound of shoes on the kitchen step. 1, 2, 3. They stopped. I put my ear to the crack of the door and I could hear Isabel breathing. I gripped the door handle. She walked to the bottom of the steps. 4, 5, 6, 7. And started for the door that I stood behind. She stopped. I put my eye to the crack. She stood with her back to me, studying the moon below the leaves. The owls called again, and Isabel ran into the night. So Isabel went to where Curzon was sleeping, but didn't go to the door. This is not an accident. She loves him too. She wanted him to come. She wanted to say goodbye. Then she decided not to. If you want to find out what's going on, read ahead. Chapter 52. Page. You don't put page numbers when it's a new chapter. Page 238. I will see you all for Zoom Math, 5th grade. You have to do Math iReady today too. It's a 2 iReady